Okay, fine. So in the last class, we had completed application interaction model, then we had covered application class model, and then we moved to our application state model. So in this, uh, we are looking some steps for constructing our application state model. So we had covered uh, uh, few steps, like we have to determine the application classes with the states. So we had identified some classes, like we had identified a user classes and controller classes, as well as your our boundary classes, and our focus is just on your boundary controller classes, because controller have some important states, and that that can be elaborated easily. Otherwise, like user interface classes and the boundary class are just lacking in their state behavior, so we are not considering. First, just we are focusing on controller classes. Then we identified what are different uh, states that are being available, because sorry, events that are being available, because these states are just an interval in between your events. Then will start discussing with building our state diagrams. So this is our next step, to build a state diagram for each application classes that are having some temporal behavior. So we have to choose one of these classes, and then we can consider our sequence diagram that we have created in our application interaction model. So we arrange all the events that involves the classes, and these classes are just mapped to your paths. And what are these paths? These paths are just the arcs that are labeled by our events. So we are having some intervals, so these intervals are just in between any two events. It's just in your state. So as I discussed that your state is just an interval in between your two events. So we will give a state name, so for each state, and this that name should be meaningful, and this should be considered as a unique. Now we can merge some sequence diagram that are having some common behavior. So we had started with our initial state diagram. So this initial state diagram contains a sequence of events, and you are having some states. Then we'll go for every scenario or every sequence diagram that corresponds to a particular path that exists in between your state diagram. Then after identifying all those paths, we'll find some loops with your diagrams. So just look, our next example is so my example is, yeah. So this is our example. So after finding the paths, we'll just going for finding the loops which exist in your diagram. So if your particular sequence of events is just repeated indefinitely, then we'll form loop associated with this path. So in a particular loop, the first state and the last states are usually identical, because this is considered as a loop. So if the object remembers that it has traversed in loop, then the two states are not identical, because we are considering this an infinite loop. So for a loop, at least one state in loop must be in multiple transaction, leaving it, or loop will never terminate. So this is how we can say that we are having some loops. And once we had found these loops, we merge other sequence diagram into our state diagram. So we have to find out the point in each sequence diagram where it diverges right from your previous one also. So at this point, uh, we attach new events to your particular sequences that exist as an state, and that could go for, or that could have some alternative path that is being available for your state diagram. So when we are examining our sequence diagram, we may think that uh, other possible events that can occur at your state diagram, so we can add all those possible path in your state diagram as well. As now when we are considering this state diagram, the hardest thing that is to decide that which state has an alternate point path to rejoin your existing diagram. So when we are having alternative path, so we have to decide, and this decision is very difficult for us to find whether this alternative path exists, and uh, at which point we can rejoin our existing diagram. Now, if we are having two paths, so these two paths join a state if an object forgets which one is to be taken. So in many cases, it is obvious from our knowledge base, from your application domain, that two states are identical. For example, uh, mm, what we can say that for an example, states are just identical, that we have to put an card in your ATM, and the similar is to like inserting your password and inserting your coins are just like this are having a similar behavior, but these are refers to different objects. But let's say I am just having the let's say the checking your password, whether your password is entered in your system or not. So we can say that at any stage of point you can ask like a password for your system. So for that particular point, what you can do is that you can have a same state or two different state for a particular object. So what we can do is that we can merge all those things. So if we are having these two paths that are being appear as an identical, but that can be distinguished by circumstances. For an example, uh, some system repeat the input sequence if user makes an error in entering information, like uh, when we are a user enters his wrong password, then it again repeated it repeats its sequence, so that we can say that it has some identical path, but yes, we can distinguish it by some behavior, like it has submitted by one time wrong password, then we have a second time wrong password, then we can have a third time failure or wrong password. So this is how we can identify that we can distinguish by some circumstances, and then if the user has entered three times the wrong password, then we can block his account. So we are having some different circumstances, and yeah, we have to find out which circumstances and which are different parallel similar or identical path that exists between your two different states. Now, so just consider this example. So we are having this example. So let's say consider this left side example. So in this uh, example, we are having consider that this is just a session controller, and in this middle of this diagram has the main behavior of processing the ATM card and the your password. So the main behavior lies like that you are giving from main screen. So we are having some this event like do events, and these are do events, and for these do events you are having some uh, events or we are some having triggers that are occurring over there. So if you are inserting a card and then you are having no problem, then you are just going for getting password or requesting password from your user. So so it has a main behavior of using your pass card and the password. The communication failure, like here. So if you are having some communication failure that can interrupt your processing at a particular time. So what you can do is that uh, in addition to that, if you are having some communication error that हमने इसको last classes में include करा था, but if a communication error is exists, but the system can what do we say that a system can uh, record the suspicious circumstances. So after the finishing some transaction or like receipt printing that occurs in the parallel, right, from your card ejection, like you are having completed your transaction and then you are having two parallel activities, like you are here forking those parallel activities, and this parallel, or we can say that these are the concurrent activities, and the concurrent activities are distinguished by your dash line. So right from your concurrent activities, you can either eject your card or you can print your receipt right from here. So user can take perform two activities, like a user can either take card first and then take a receipt, or it can take receipt first and then can eject his card. Now considering these two uh, examples. So this shows your transaction controller and then your transfer. So this transaction controller and then this session controller, like just over here. So this transaction controller and this session controllers are uh, uh, distinguished because they are having, because their purpose are much different, right? From this is you are going for creating session over here, and here you are going for some making some transaction. So like here in this case you are going for verifying that user is uh, valid or not, and in this case you are going for whether uh, your transaction completed or not, or let's say you are having sufficient amount in your account and then you can withdraw amount, or you can deposit money, or you can transfer money. So this, in this way what we are trying to do is that we can create a different state diagrams for different identities. Now in the next step, after identifying or building the state diagram, we have to check against other state diagrams, because these state diagrams for each class are considered as checked for their completeness and their consistency. So every event should have at least one sender, and in addition to that, if you are considering the sender for an event, so you should also have a receiver of that particular event. So, and this sender and the receiver are occasionally the same object. Now, the states without some predecessors or successors are considered to be suspicious. Why? Because we have to make sure that they represents your starting and the termination point of your interaction of your sequences. Now, these state diagrams are just uh, representing the dynamic behavior. So when we are considering this dynamic behavior, so this dynamic behavior of just this they map the dynamic behavior of your objects. So these objects are usually inherently concurrent, because an object can take uh, two parallel paths for your values. So we have to consider when we are having this concurrent activities, so we have to check whether the synchronization errors occurs or not, or whether uh, it makes some awkward condition for this synchronization. So we have to make sure that the corresponding events for a different state diagrams are particularly uh, constant. So just an again, like in our previous diagram, we are having this session controller and this transaction controller. So this session controllers initiate your transaction controller, and the termination of this transaction controller again causes the session controller to resume. So what we are trying to do this is that we are having same object, and this same objects can have two different states. So what we can do is that we have to identify that this state diagram should be consistent, because it starts is application initiation, and then after initialization your application, you will go for this transaction, and after having this transaction you are again going for this session to resume, because you have to go for like uh, ejecting card or the printing receipt. So when we are having this service transaction, so we are just created another object. So this should be consistent, that you are getting some values right from these values, and you are uh, finishing your transaction, and then after finishing your transaction you will come here, so that you make sure that you should be consistent with another state diagram. Then again, after checking uh, the consistency with your state diagram, again we have to check its consistency with your class models. So again this should be consistent, because you are just evolving this application state model right from your domain model and your application class model. So all the things that are considered in your domain model or application class model should be reflected in your state model, because these state models are just a dynamic behavior. So once you had identified this the static behavior. So this static behavior should be reflected in your dynamic behavior. So again, let's say again consider your ATM example. So when you are having some multiple ATM that working concurrently, so let's say another multiple accounts or multiple ATMs working concurrently and accessing an account. So account can be controlled to ensure that you are having some updates, and these updates should be applied at particular instance of time. So we have to check whether all these models are your state model is consistent with your class model. Then we have to check its consistency with your interaction. So when your state model is ready, so go back and check whether all the scenarios like your basic flow and your alternative flow and what are the exceptions. So we have to go back and check it against your all those scenarios of your interaction model. So we have to simulate the behavior of your sequences by our hand, and we have to verify that the state diagram gives the correct behavior that is being available in your particular scenario or in your sequence type. So this sequence diagram are just considered as an interaction diagram. So if you find some inconsistency, that is you are having identified some errors, so you have to change either your state diagram or your scenarios as per user requirement. So sometimes your state diagram will uncover some irregularities that exist in your particular scenario. So we don't assume that your scenarios are always correct, because these are taken right from your requirement, and these requirements are always considered to be the incomplete. So what we are trying to do is that we have to we can identify some irregularities in your scenarios or your sequence diagram or the interaction diagram. So after identifying these irregularities, we can take the state model and trace out the legitimate paths. So this legitimate paths represents an additional scenario. So you can ask yourself whether they can make sense. If they are not making some sense, then you can modify your state diagram. So in many cases, we can discover the useful behavior that we had not identified before. Like the mark of a good design is just like a discovery of unexpected information that follows your design and the properties that appears meaningful. So again, we are considering this 18 example. So the best the we can tell right now is that the state diagrams are just a sound, and they consist all those. So they consider all those scenarios, right? Either they're basic flow of events, or like they are considering they should consider alternative flow or the rainy days and the sunny days. So we have to consider all these rainy days and the sunny days, or we consider alternative flow and the basic flow for our system. Now, after identifying your application state model, what we can do is that we can add operations in our system. So what are these operations? So as we are going in the object-oriented analysis, we much less emphasis on defining the operations than your traditional programming methodologies. So in traditional methodology, you are focusing on identifying different operations, but in case of object-oriented analysis, we are not giving that much emphasis on uh, defining our operations. So we de-emphasize our operations because the list of potential useful operations are just open-ended, and it is difficult to know when to stop the adding operations. So operations arises right from your different sources. So we are having different sources of operations, like the operations comes from your class models. So like you are the reading and writing of attribute values and the association links that implied by your class models. So you need not to show this explicitly. So during the analysis, all the attributes and the associations are assumed to be accessible, and this can be possible by defining the operation, because you are having a list of attributes that are being available, and this attribute should be returned back to your persistent storage, or you can collect all the information related to your uh, attributes. So either you can read all those attributes, or you can write all those attributes, or you can, or after reading and writing attributes, you have to make some computations over there. So all these operations, all these functionalities just arises right from your class model. So this is a one way we can find out the operations from our class models. Now in addition to that, we can add operations right from your use cases. So uh, these use cases represent the complex functionality of your particular system. So during the construction of your particular interaction model, the use case leads to your activities, and many of these activities are just operation in your class model. So again, we had created a we had created use cases, and after creating this use cases, we had created scenarios, and right from these scenarios we had created interaction model. So all these things that you are having some different events, or you are having some activities that are associated in your interaction model, so we can make all these activities as an operation in your class model. So this is the another way. Now the third way, that uh, shopping list operation. So sometimes in a real world behavior, your class suggests your operation, but some authors, let's say, some authors calls this like an shopping list, because these operations are not dependent on your particular application, but these are meaningful to their own right. Like shopping list operations provide an opportunity to broaden your class definition beyond your narrow needs. Like we are focusing on the immediate problem. Like again, we are considering this ATM example. So for this ATM example, the shopping list of operation may include, like you are having account closing operation, then you can have some creating your saving accounts, and then if you are having creating saving account, then you can have creating your checking accounts, or you can have some ATM card authorization operation, or then you can have some uh, let's say send OTP operations, or check whether this OTP is correct or not. So this is how we can find out. We can say that these are the shopping list operations. So this list of operations comes right from your real world, because you are having some domain experts available. So these domain experts are very comfortable in identifying different operations that are not identified during your application class only. Now the last thing is that simplifying your operations. So we can we have to examine our class models for the like similar identifying the similar operations and the variation in the form of your single operations. So we usually try to broaden the definition of an operation that encompasses uh, like variation or the special cases. We use inheritance where it is possible to reduce the number of distinct operations, because uh, when we identify that there is an inheritance relationship, then we can share our operations to your subclasses. So we can introduce new superclasses as needed to simplify your general operations that provides. Now, in addition to that, we can locate each operation at the correct level within your class hierarchy. So as a result, we can have some fewer and the powerful operations that are not considered to be the simpler. But yeah, these are the original operation, and then these original operations are uh, global, and these operations are uniform, and these operations are considered as a general operation. So this is how we can identify different operations. So just summarizing it, that first we have to identify what are the different operations, or what are the different attributes exist in your you know class model. So for this particular attributes, you are having getter and the setter methods, like in your Java or in .NET. So you can add getter and setter methods for this particular attribute. So this is how we can identify the operations right from your class model. And after having this, you are, once you had defined your use cases, and right from your use cases you had written your scenarios, and right from your scenarios you had created your interaction model, and from this interaction model uh, you are having the list of activities, or the list of activities that combines your different objects of your sequence diagram. So these activities are again considered as an operation here particular uh, of for foreign class. Then we are having a shopping list of operations. So this shopping list of operations comes from your domain expert, or right from your real world. So these are just some common behavior, like we are having account details, so we have to create an open account, or we have to create a close account, or we have to create a verify account. So these are just different simple real world uh, usage of your information system. Then we have some simplifying operations. So what are these simplifying operations? That we are having a class hierarchy that is being available. So for this class hierarchy, what we can do is that we can generalize our system, and we can add operation on the required hierarchy, required level of hierarchy. So this can provide your original operation, and that are uniform and in general. So this is the last topic of your third chapter. So when we are going for summarizing this, so I can summarize that the purpose of this chapter, or the purpose we are going from the analysis to, so the purpose of this analysis to understand the problem, so that a correct design can be constructed, and a good analyst capture the essential feature of your problem without introducing an implementation artifacts that prematurely restrict your design decision. So there are two phases of analysis. One is the domain, and second was the application. So we had started right from your domain classes. So in domain analysis, you capture your general knowledge about your particular application, and in domain analysis involves class models and sometimes your state models, but seldom it has an interaction model. In contrast to your uh, application analysis, so this application analysis focuses on majorly on your application artifacts that are much important, and this should be visible to user, and this must be approved by users of your system, or the client of your system information system. So the interaction model dominates your particular application analysis, but your class and the state models are also very important. So this is all about your application modeling, or the analysis of your system. So I'm again just moving to my system week again, and I'll start recording my system.